Hey guys, I'm here today with Dan in his, what is this, a 2002?
2003.
2003 MR-2. I was just showing Dan the BRZ, explaining to him some stuff with the header and exhaust, and in exchange he was kind enough to let me drive his MR-2 and bring it out, and I've never driven an MR-2, so we have some blown out suspension that needs some work. So we're going to take it easy on this drive, but it's going to be kind of a tour and a little bit of the story behind this car, how you got it.
Sure.
You've owned 21 vehicles, and the BRZ is one of your favorites, which is pretty cool to hear.
Yeah.
And then how does this kind of rank? You say you drive this a lot.
So I've been saying that the BRZ has been my favorite, and then I got this, and I drive it more often.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure what that says, but
that says something.
It says something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different car than the BRZ. It's maybe 600 pounds lighter-ish, and being mid-engine, it has a different dynamic, and it's more unique. You don't see them that often on the road, at least in Michigan.
You said there's a lot of Corolla running hardware on here.
Yeah, a lot of parts bin Toyota stuff. The originals took the front suspension off of, I think, a Corolla for the Mark 1 generation, and just stuck it on the rear. And so it's
wow.
They've done that sort of stuff for quite a while.
Kind of a cool mid-2000s FJ Cruiser-esque interior with a square dash. Okay.
Yeah, so the car was there was an owner that had it since new. He wound up being in his 80s when his wife sold it, and then a guy down in Tampa bought it, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to turn it into just a track car or whatever, And he swapped over the sequential manual transmission to a traditional manual.
This is a 5-speed.
So it's 6-speed actually.
6-speed. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
So they only made 5-speed traditional manuals, and the SMT in 2003 was upgraded to a 6-speed. And it was the same ratios, except they added a 6th.
Okay, so it's just got a tall fuel economy gear then.
Exactly.
Nice.
Which is so much nicer on the highway.
I bet.
And so the guy swapped that over, and he's like, "This is too nice to turn into a track car. Like, had 63,000 miles or whatever." And he's like, "Okay, let me put it up for sale." And so I just snatched it up because it was low miles.
That's great.
And it was the color I like. It's a less common color than the silver or red, which I don't really care.
The blue's gorgeous. Any mods? Is it pretty much stock?
So the sequential manual swap over, and then the hardtop.
Okay.
And that's it. And the hardtop came from the UK. They never sold it here. They sold it in Japan.
Yeah.
In the UK.
I've never seen one with a hardtop. It's a pretty unique. It's a cool look. I mean.
Yeah. And I don't really care for convertibles all that much. I just like really lightweight cars.
Sure.
And a lot of like Miatas, MR2s, like.
What's the curb weight on this?
2195.
Oh my gosh, that's lighter than a Miata. That's amazing. Cool.
Yeah, lighter than a first gen Miata.
I
think, right.
Yeah.
They had some chassis bracing and all that for the 03, and they made some other cosmetic changes. But they also did a staggered wheel setup. They didn't have that in 2000, 2002.
Okay. Are these 16s and 15s? or
15, 16, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, and then they made that change. Everything else is pretty much cosmetic, I think.
Are they wider in addition to being taller, or? 205s. Okay.
Oh, yeah, so 185 front, 205 rear.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I would have washed it if I thought about
I
it.
know, it's okay. The camera takes off a layer of dirt.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Does the camera get rid of this too?
No. 10 pounds and a layer of dirt. That's all you get.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just the Corolla engine.
Okay, cool.
The 1ZZ, the FE. It's not even like the GE or whatever. It's the fuel economy one.
It looks like everything's pretty accessible, easy to work on.
Yeah, fairly.
For a mid-engine car, usually.
For a mid-engine, yes.
Yeah, usually everything's just, you have this little tiny hole, and like you could check the oil and fill oil, and that's it.
Right. No, it's pretty accessible, and like I said, it's all very generic Toyota parts.
Sure.
Not an issue getting parts or anything.
That's neat. Sometimes parts bin specials are fun.
Yeah. And managing to make it this lightweight with just like generic parts is
amazing.
So cool. And then also they didn't use like any aluminum that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Like I kind of figured like, oh, maybe this will be aluminum. Nope. Maybe the topic. Nope. It's all just steel.
Interesting. Well, there's not a lot of car here, so maybe that's why. And this is also pre-safety stuff. And
yeah, it'd be hard to make one steel and plastic this lightweight, and it would never pass.
No,
it wouldn't. Safety. And I'll show you the front just for the head.
Yeah. I literally don't know anything about these cars. It's just not hasn't been in my circle of experience.
There's actually if you fold over the passenger seat there, I can show you the little storage cubbies. This is rated at having 1.9 cubic feet of storage.
That's pretty good.
1.9 cubic feet.
You could
is
fit
not a lot.
You could fit something back there.
Yeah, and actually had bags that were custom made for it. They have the MR-2 midship logo.
Oh, cool. I mean, it's way better than a new Miata, better than an S2000 back there, so that's pretty
The
good.
nice thing about the bags too is that when I pack for a trip, I know exactly how much I can pack, and then the bonus room comes from the front because I don't bother with the spare tire.
Midship runabout.
Yep. So it's not
sums it
actually it's not MR2 mid-engine rear-wheel drive 2-seater. It's midship runabout.
Okay.
That's where the MR comes from, which I
Alright.
didn't know until.
Interesting. Well, now it says it pretty clearly there. Oh, it's a decent sized frunk.
Yeah. So without the spare tire, like I get plenty more space in here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see the mark for the spare. Okay.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, everyone does that at Miatas too. They pull the spare out and
Oh,
they have trunk space.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Intelligently packaged for what it is.
Right. So yeah, so I'll have you drive it, and like I said, the suspension's pretty well. The struts I know are just toast,
Okay.
and then the bushings and all that I'm probably gonna replace.
We're gonna go for a Sunday drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Sunday cruise.
Well, especially with my butt in it, we're not going very fast.
Sure, sure.
Oh, and speaking of parts bin, one of the nice things about this is that if these handles here break, you can just get them from the handicap stalls at your local grocery store.
Perfect.
So.
Or just put some PVC on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels pretty good. Very similar pedals to the BRZ.
Yeah, the brake's up a little high, but
And
it's
neutral now.
there's not enough space for your foot on the throttle if you don't have the brake up higher. It's really obnoxious.
Okay.
So forget heel towing. But
I like the size of the steering wheel. The dash I think this is so cool. It's so 2000s.
yeah, I like this little storage, little cubby space up here.
Yeah. So how many miles are on this?
Almost 70 now, 69.
That's
Sounds
pretty good. That's pretty decently low mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, 69.7. Cool.
And it's fully loaded. We got air conditioning and a radio.
Yeah.
Like, what more do you need?
That's it.
Cruise control would have been nice when I bought it.
Nice lightweight mid-engine steering. You know, Toyotas just hold up well. This is just the mid-engine Toyota Miata equivalent, probably.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was definitely targeted at the Miata.
Yeah.
It did not beat it. But for that, what would you say, like that exotic feel mid-engine?
Yeah.
For an affordable.
Shifter's nice and smooth. It's definitely held up very well. I like that the automatic park reverse drive is still on there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
AC work?
Yeah.
Let's put the windows up. Yeah. And you said this is a 6-speed.
6-speed.
So
Yep.
we've got one more gear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. What kind of gas mileage did you get in this?
30.
Okay.
Yeah, with how I drive. So.
Yeah, yeah. Is that aggressive or medium?
Spirited.
Spirited. Okay.
The thing is that you can romp on this thing and gather no attention. The exhaust is dead silent.
Sure.
When we did that big rally with all with the the Z06 and the Porsche 911 and all those things, we did like an audio check on all the exhausts. And we did like a match the audio to the car. We did a little game, like can you hear and tell what car it is?
Sure, exactly.
And then mine fired up and it sounded like a Corolla, and everyone started laughing.
That's cool. That's a good idea, actually. I should do that for my bachelor party.
There you go. But yeah, so I mean, like it doesn't make like hardly any noise, and
Sure.
like apart from looking flashy, like you don't gather any attention.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fun.
yeah, but so I just romp on this thing and redline a day. This is great.
Yeah. Well, it's a Toyota. It'll hold up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I have no concerns about it. And if something did break, it's all generic parts bin, whatever.
Are there any gotchas with these cars? Any things you want to really look out for?
Yes, if you get a 2000 and 2002, which is the vast majority of these cars, they did not make very many after that.
Okay.
If you get those, they have precats that have this little heating element in the header that heats up, and it's like a pre-catalytic converter thing.
Okay.
Those would deteriorate over time, get sucked into the engine, and just grenade. Like, it was awful. Like,
That's
it
exciting.
would cause severe oil burning issues, and basically grenade the engine.
Okay.
And it was after the warranty had expired because it takes a long time for that to occur.
Yeah.
2003 and on, they fixed that. Super easy fix, but you have to know what to do. You just, if you're going to buy a used 2000 and 2002, you just put a scope in the O2 port, like in the O2 sensor, you know, and then see the condition of the precats.
Oh, okay.
And then if they're intact, you're good. Just gut them. Just take them out or get a header.
Okay, interesting.
But for 03, they didn't have that issue. So other than that, it's, you know, generic Toyota, whatever. Eventually, being the 1ZZ, it'll eventually burn oil, like as the miles creep up
Sure,
to 100,
sure.
150, 200,000 miles. But I'm burning like a quarter of a quart between changes. You know, it's like
That's
nothing.
minimal. That's like that's normal for
That's
every
like
car.
probably when it was new.
Yeah, exactly. It feels great. So
Yeah.
2003 is kind of the way to go then. and-
I like it better.
Yeah.
The minor cosmetic things, the staggered wheels, I like it better. The cosmetic stuff was they added fog lamps and like the side air vents intakes. Instead of being black, they're body color matched, and it just looks more modern.
Yeah, it does. Yep.
But it's minor, like it's not a big deal.
It's funny, there was so much of that in the 2000s. There was this big push to plastic,
Yeah.
and then they just painted all the plastic.
Right,
Like the
right,
Volvo
right.
S60, you know, they just... Yeah, this is very Miata-esque, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Is the transmission out of a Corolla?
The 5-speed is being a 6-speed, I guess. It's the same transmission. They just added a gear on top.
Okay.
I guess. So maybe one of the Corollas got the 6-speed. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I know
Well-
they did not develop it specifically for this car.
Sure.
Like, by any means.
I don't know
but-
what they developed really specifically for this car, except for like the chassis, right?
Yeah, right. It doesn't make very many compromises, but it's also not like raw in any way. It's
Sure.
very compliant, very cozy.
It has a decent amount of torque at low revs. What's the horsepower rating roughly on this?
Oh gosh, 138,
Okay.
and I'm making 137 at the wheel. I
feels
have
about
a
right.
JDM ECU,
Okay.
and it had a tune, and so I'm magically making 137 at the wheels
Wow.
on a Mustang dyno. So I know that's not
pretty good.
not known to read high. Kind of the heartbreaker dyno. So anyway, so it's rated at 138. I got 137, and torque is like 115,
Okay.
and I'm making like 112, I think.
All right.
At the wheel.
So you've dynoed it. You've done everything.
Well,
That's
I mean, I'm doing
nice.
powertrain development now. and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to drop it at 2ZZ like my old one. And it was like, okay, with numbers like this, I have no excuse. Like, this is so much cheaper. Because to do that right, you got to spend a few grand. And it's
Sure,
like,
that's right.
that's a motorcycle. Like, I could use another one of those, right?
Yep. This is just easy to drive.
Yeah.
You think mid-engine car, you think a little finicky, you think I was kind of expecting Lotus-like characteristics, but
Twitchy.
yeah.
Yeah, red light's about 7, so you can take
Yeah.
that. The rev limiter is awesome, by the way, if you want to hear that.
Okay.
I love the Toyota rev limiter.
Yeah, it's pretty natural to rev match downshift.
Yeah, it revs up pretty quick.
Yeah. Decent amount of pull. It's definitely quicker than like an NA Miata,
Yeah, just barely.
just barely, with the weight and that extra torque.
Yeah, I think the little bit of torque, the little bit of weight reduction, you know, over the Miatas, and it's just a little bit more willing to rev.
Sure.
I feel like.
Yeah, it rides nicely. You've got good comfy tires on here.
Yeah, there's actually enough. You know, like the ratio's tall enough that it's
Yeah.
not aggressive. Yeah, I'd love for you to take this out. You know, more aggressive sometime once I get the suspension looked
Yeah,
at. I'm
get
actually
it-
dropping it off Wednesday night.
Get it sorted. It'd be fun to kind of feel it dance a little bit. But
Well, and I could let you do it. You know, drive yourself too. You're not carrying. I'm kind of a boat anchor, you know. Yeah, if you get a chance, hit the rev limiter because it's
All
just
right.
like I don't know. That just makes me giddy because it's like.
That is fun. It's fast.
Yeah.
That's another thing with the tune on the BRZ is you get a nice soft rev limiter. So if you're an autocrosser or something, it just kind of goes. Ring.
It holds it. It's
Yeah,
not-
it does. Fine, that's something. Exactly. There's no drastic power cut.
Right. So I will show you a trick if you're interested. You can turn it off and turn it back on, and then you'll have no power steering.
Oh,
So a lot of
interesting.
people delete power steering because it's electrically assisted.
Okay.
So it's a little bit numb.
How does it feel?
Well, you can do it. Just turn it off the
So
car, turn it back on.
should I put it neutral?
Clutch in.
Clutch in, okay. Let's wait for braking zones to vanish.
Right, yeah, I mean, you know, whenever you feel safe.
Yeah.
So.
Get past our police officer friend. Yeah, I always depowered the racks on my Miatas, and I loved the way they felt.
Yeah.
So that was always a cool
With this
thing.
being so light in the rear, in the front, I mean, because I think it's like 50. It's 53, 47, is that it? Weight distribution.
That sounds about right. Yeah, it's pretty mid-engine right there.
Yeah.
For such a short wheelbase, that seems
right.
about
You know,
accurate.
this car is like an inch shorter than the NA Miatas.
Okay.
And it's got a 7-inch
All right,
longer
I'm gonna do it
wheelbase.
here. So turn it off.
Yeah. And then start back up. There you go. And then now you shouldn't have power steering.
Yep, feels a little heavier. Interesting. Is that like a feature that they engineered in?
No, I think it's a bug.
That's amazing.
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
So this is electric then?
It's normally electrically assisted.
Okay.
It does have a hydraulic part of the system. I don't know. I was online and said, oh, it's electrically assisted. Somebody's like, actually, it's. I'm like, all right, sorry. I probably should have the same thing with your camera there, because now somebody's going to be like, actually.
Well, you never know.
No,
People always chime in with lots of knowledge, so
It's true.
maybe I'll take it around a couple more turns, feel the steering with it depowered. Yeah, because I've always wondered, you know, it's so easy to. It's just a switch that you could flip to depower an electric rack, and why couldn't we do it on more cars?
And that's what I said, and then they're like, well, you're going to burn up if you do it regularly all the time, whatever. And I'm like, okay, fine.
So much more feel.
Talking about. I like it.
Yeah, it feels good. And we'll wait for this Audi here, whatever it
You
is.
got it.
Oh, we got a green.
Yeah, you can give it some business. I mean, you don't have to baby it. This is about how I drive it.
Yeah. Flat out everywhere.
No
I
reason
mean,
not to. Like,
you kind of have to because,
Yeah.
you know, just to keep up with traffic
Yeah.
with 130
Oh, yeah.
horsepower.
we're not exactly breaking any laws. Like
Sure.
that's the thing. You're having fun, and it's like wholesome fun.
Yep. Good, clean fun.
Right. I gotta say, I do like being able to just see the end of the car there with the lights there.
Yeah, there's a nice view out of that. I'm just gonna clean your windshield if that's all right.
Yeah, it's good luck.
There we go.
If I'd thought at all, I would have cleaned it. For this,
We'll do a follow-up video someday. You know, you'll put the header on your BRZ. We can get your thoughts on that.
Okay, yeah.
It'll, you know, I'm sure you might have another car by then. If you're at 21 vehicles already, I'm sure you'll have like one or two more.
Yeah,
you know.
we'll see. I do have a Royal Enfield Cafe Racer thing that I've been working on. That's been pretty cool.
Oh, that's neat.
For motorcycles.
Yeah. I don't ride, but you could always throw the camera on your
Oh, there
helmet.
you go, on the helmet. That'd
Yeah.
be cool. Yeah. That's another slow bike, you know, another slow vehicle. That's a lot of
Slow
fun.
car fast is the way to go.
Yeah.
This is fun. I like this MR2. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with it. It's fluid. It has a nice amount of power. This shifter's pretty good. It's a little bit difficult to heel toe, but maybe I'm just not used to it.
The brake pedal's pretty high.
Yeah.
That's my guess. There's just not a lot of space. I
Exactly.
lowered the pedal way down, and then I couldn't not hit the brake when I was going with the accelerator without just.
I see.
I had to like sneak my foot on the accelerator. I was like, oh, never mind. I'd not have big feet.
Take a little corner here.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah. Much more weight. Rowing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I didn't really know what to expect. You don't hear a lot about these cars. I think they had decent reviews when they came out, and they're all like $8,000 on AutoTrader and Craigslist, you know.
Right.
So
Accessible.
exactly, yeah.
It's just a little bit different. You know, I've owned the two Miatas, and they're great. I love Miatas. And being a car guy, I'm always trying something different, something new.
Yep.
With this one, it was like, well, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more interesting.
Mid-engine,
Yeah.
that seems like, you know, for me in the future, like a good challenge to master on track or something, you know.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, managing a short wheelbase mid-engine car, there's a delicacy and an art to that
Yeah.
is not an experience that you get with traditional layouts and
Sure.
usual vehicles. So
I was saying before that this is like an inch shorter than like the NA Miatas.
That's right.
But the wheelbase is 7 inches longer.
okay,
So it's
interesting.
actually really interesting. Yeah.
What's the aftermarket like for these?
Nothing like the Miatas.
Okay, but there is some, I assume.
Yeah, there's definitely a very loyal following for these cars, and that's all you need. A lot
Sure.
of DIY type stuff. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of OEM plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, even the 2ZZ, even the other Toyota engine, that bolts right in.
Really?
All I have to do is move the dipstick tube, and then it bolts in, and then get like a wiring harness out of a Vibe GT or a Corolla S or whatever that the 2ZZ came in,
Uh-huh.
and you're golden.
That's awesome.
That's it.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that seems like a really common swap for these cars.
Yeah.
Have you driven? You
I
had
owned
one.
I owned one. Yeah.
How did
It
that
was good.
compare to
It
this,
was
like
the-
dynamically? And
It was good. It was a 6-speed LSD headers and the 2ZZ
Okay.
and coilovers, and that was great. It was like track ready.
That's awesome.
It was a flood car.
Okay.
It had no carpet, and it had like no interior carpeting, and like
Okay.
it was like had holes in the floor pans and stuff, like drain holes, you know.
Okay.
It was rough. And we drove it from Nashville back, and my fiance was like, I don't know, she was not happy about it, but she didn't complain.
Sure.
But we were on the highway.
This is before you
and
were
it was
married.
just, yeah. And we drove it up though. She tolerated it. It was so loud with those headers, and it droned so bad.
That
and then
drive through Ohio is a little bit of a bear.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we got to, whenever you got to like lift, it was like 6,000 RPM, and it got, the cam switched over.
Yes.
It was just going to like a complete, it was like going into race car mode.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
So loud.
What's the red line on those? 8-ish?
Oh gosh, what did that red line at? 85?
Because that's the engine that's in the Lotus Elise and the Corolla S, right? Okay.
Right, yeah. And the Vibe GT Matrix.
That's right,
S,
yep.
Whatever.
That's an amazing engine.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's what this should have come with.
Sure.
It should have come with that. But it would raise the price a couple grand probably,
Yeah.
and like then you're out of Miata territory. Because these were just barely more expensive than a Miata.
Okay.
then
And
the stuff
probably
they
more
should have
expensive to
done-
develop than the Miata.
Oh, I'm sure,
like-
yeah. Because they had to start all the R&D. Like, they were behind already.
Sure.
Because Miata already had however many years.
I always like to do a horn test.
No, you're good. One thing I should mention about all the cars I've owned and everything like that. So I've owned 21 vehicles, and I have no plans to replace this or the BRZ
Interesting.
until I can afford a Lotus Elise
Ooh.
or maybe a Porsche Cayman S.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like 5-10 years. I honestly have no plans to get anything different. The BRZ and the MR-2 Spyder are just so interesting to me, and they're such good cars that I'm satisfied.
It's a really good combination because they're different enough to not overlap.
Yeah.
And you get that Miata-ness, that feel to it, and you can disable the power steering.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny.
I think it's a bug. I don't think it was intentional. I think it was a
Totally,
bug.
yeah. What was the last year of these?
In the US, 05.
Okay.
They technically made it until 07, I guess.
All right. Interesting. Well, cool. This is kind of... I was worried that this might put these on my radar, and it kind of has now. So
Yeah.
someday, if I see a nice one up for sale, I might swing for it. It's just it's a nicely balanced, dynamic driving experience. A little bit more power. You got that mid-engine goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Parts been special, so everything's cheap. It's
Oh,
not going
yeah.
to go through consumables because it weighs 2,100 pounds.
Yeah, super cheap to own.
Cool.
And my insurance is like nothing on it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like...
Well, the most you could, crash in here is 2 people. So
Right.
my insurance agent was like, when I insured my Miatas, I was like, what's the insurance on these? And he's like, well, since there's only two seats, it's pretty cheap. So cool. Well, Dan, thanks so much.
Oh, yeah,
This was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
We'll catch you one of these days with some new suspension, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have it still. So
Right. Oh, yeah.
cool. Yeah, standard Toyota key.
Oh,
My dad has an FJ Cruiser, and I see so many similarities.
Oh,
in just
really?
like the layout, same vent
Oh,
controls,
I was going to say, yeah. It's
key
all
fob.
super generic, yeah.
Toyota hasn't changed their stuff for so long, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It keeps the car focused on reliability and dependability, and that's definitely a testament. Because this has 70,000 miles on it, and it feels great. Probably drives pretty similar to how it does new, you know?
I would imagine, yeah.
Yep. So, cool. This was fun.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, yeah, I can show you the vent thing I was talking about.
Oh, yeah. So then if you start it up again, power steering will be back?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only when you're moving.
Right. So this whole section used to be black.
Okay.
And then they made it color match, which on the blue car, not that big of a deal.
Sure.
On the silver, you're like, what's wrong with this?
Yeah, where's that hole? Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, so just little things like that. And then
Yeah.
I really like the staggered wheel. It just makes it more exotic again. Like, oh, I got staggered wheels. Like, I don't know. This is cool.
You know, this is unique to your car and not many others, but one thing I will say is convertibles usually suck as a hardtop or with a top up. Like, they're only happy with the top down, otherwise they turn into rattly little messes. And this is very livable with a hardtop.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And that's something that I usually wouldn't say about a convertible, at least from this era, you know?
Okay.
So that's good. I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised about that.
Well, with the headliner, there's actually some integrity, but there's like a substantial amount of padding in the headliner.
So some sound deadening.
Yeah, whereas with the Miatas, both my Miatas had one had a very thin headliner, and then the other one was just the metal, and it turns into like a resonance chamber.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It just makes everything louder.
Interesting.
Whereas with this one, it really damped it.
Okay, cool. Well, 1+ for the MR-2, and I see you still have the soft top in there. Do you ever pull the hard top off, or you're just not about
Pretty rare. It's fine, but I burn like toast. So,
sure, yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right, well, we'll end on that note. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
This is fun.